Hi Libra, this is Mimi with Divination by Mimi. Welcome to your March 1st through the 15th, 2018 tarot reading with a little bit of astrology. You are a cardinal sign, you're an air sign, and you're ruled by Venus. And Venus, as you probably well know, goddess of love, sensuality, beauty, and value. And she's making some interesting aspects at the beginning of the month. She's in Pisces, but she does make her way to Aries. And we'll get into those aspects in a moment. But I wanted to go over a few things the first half of the month astrologically. So firstly, on the first and 2nd of March, depending upon where you live, there is a full moon in Virgo. This full moon in Virgo is inviting us to consider the connection between the mind and spirit and the physical body and what that means to you. So how do you employ your body and your mind or your spiritual practice? Do you see them as connected or do you see them as divorced? Do you live in your body? Do you live in all three parts of you, or do you only live in your mind? So it's an interesting time to consider those questions. Of course, there's no right or wrong answer. The big thing here is that you ask the question and you consider your answer and you honor your answer. So into some aspects here. Your ruling planet Venus in Pisces, also on the 1st and 2nd, makes a beautiful trine to Jupiter in Scorpio. So Jupiter is an illuminating energy in Scorpio. It's at this point in time direct, and Scorpio rules the 8th house, which has to do with kind of deep-seated events in our lives that motivate us. It's to deal with a lot more, but as it relates to this, that's how it's relevant. And with Venus and Pisces making this trine, which is a harmonious aspect, you'll find yourself possibly feeling a little bit more creative, wanting to dig deeper into feelings, certainly feeling deeper, but possibly using that depth that you're feeling as you're kind of investigating your life. You'll find that certainly an impetus to create. So don't be surprised if you find yourself creative. Now that could manifest itself in many different ways. It could mean you start a creative project in the workplace. It could mean that you start a painting and so on. So apply as it applies to you. Also, in that same time frame, the 1st and the 2nd, again, your ruling planet Venus in Pisces making a direct opposition with the moon in Virgo. So an opposition is 180 degrees across the chart. And it kind of has to happen that way. Well, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of the full moon, but the constellation that they are in other words, where the moon is in Virgo and your planet Venus being in Pisces, those are opposite sides of one of the two mutable axes. So because they're opposite, they have very opposite energies. Pisces in the 12th house, where your ruling planet's currently residing, is about disintegration. It's the last house of the zodiac of the natural natal chart, and well, for everyone, it's the last house, but it's the point in the life, in the incarnation, where you start to disintegrate back into the collective whole, into the cosmic womb, so to speak. However, Virgo, directly across the sky or natal chart, is in the 6th house. And the 6th house and Virgo represent integration, meaning this is me, Virgo, Virgin, whole unto oneself. So that's why this full moon in Virgo begs that question. If you are whole unto yourself, owning everything about your mind, body, spirit, the person, the biological person, the intellectual person, and the spiritual person that is the individual in the 6th house, as it represents itself as separate and completely whole in and of itself, in comparison to the rest of the world and the other sentient life forms in the rest of the world. So as you can see, it's a direct opposition of ideas. One returns to the cosmic whole, and one is definitely a physical, spiritual, and mental representation separate from the whole. So these two different energies pushing and pulling with each other, again, might have you in that direction as well. Well, I have things that I need to take care of. I really should work out today. I really should go to the gym today. I should really take care of some things around the house, tidying up or what have you. But on the same token, and the Pisces aspect, the Venus in Pisces, is making me feel I want to create. I don't really want to clean the house today. I don't really want to go to the gym. I'd rather paint, or I'd rather sketch, or write a piece of music or something like that. All right, moving on to the 4th, Mercury is conjunct your ruling planet in Pisces. Again, when I say your ruling planet, I'm referring to Venus. And when it's conjunct like that, it allows Venus in Pisces to be slightly more clear in communicating feelings. So Pisces is very much about feelings. Pisces is ruled by Neptune. Venus is very much about relating in feelings, and Venus is exalted in Pisces. So when she's conjunct with Mercury, conjunct means very close, like almost on top of each other, within 10 degrees. When she's very, very close like this, it means that the energy of each planet feeds the other, so it empowers the whole connection of the two. So Mercury being about communication, intellect, thinking, sharing of ideas, in that conjunction with Venus in a very exalted space in Pisces, feeling the feelings of Pisces, this will allow her to communicate her feelings. So again, you might find that very clear, concise, articulate, open dialogues show up with the people that you care about in your life. And that's great. It allows for smooth communication without hiccups, because the retrograde's coming soon, so those hiccups are sure to come, so enjoy it while it lasts. Also on that day, Mercury is conjunct as well with Venus as with Chiron, also in Pisces. Chiron is the archetype of the wounded healer. And the person that is wounded but still finds a way to help someone else with a similar wound, kind of like a drug counselor who was once an addict, or an abuse counselor who was once a victim of abuse, that kind of thing. And that's an archetype of the wounded healer. In a conjunction with Mercury, again, allows that clear, concise, articulate communication in that close proximity of Chiron as it relates to deep wounds, deep feelings, processing of feelings, sharing and helping people with feelings. So this connection, this conjunction of Mercury with Venus, relating, right? And Mercury with Chiron, all within 10 degrees or on top of each other, so to speak, in Pisces about feelings, it makes for a really great time for communication. A really great time to share how you're feeling, how something made you feel, and there won't be a lot of hiccups or annoyances or misunderstandings. It should be very clear with Mercury being there. Moving on to the 6th, your ruling planet Venus will move into Aries. Not quite as comfortable there, but the energies around Venus in Aries would be slightly more aggressive. So where she might go with the flow in Venus, where she might go with the flow in Pisces, in Aries, she might assert her will a little bit more. Aries is the first house. The statement of I am, the motto is I am. So Venus might assert herself and her needs first before putting others first. And that's possible that some people need that. They might need to have that energy of, okay, I matter too. Okay, so that's something with Venus moving into Aries. So it's a good placement. It's not a comfortable placement for her, but it does, that fire kind of agitates movement and change, which change is inevitable, but when it's helped with fire, it's a good thing. Moving on to the 7th, the moon at this point will have been in Sagittarius, and the moon in Sagittarius is forming a lovely trine with your ruling planet in Venus, and with Mercury in Venus. So again, Venus being in Aries now. Did I miss that? No, sorry. Yeah, Venus being in Aries. Yes, Venus and Mercury at this time both being in Aries, excuse me. With the moon in Sagittarius, again, it's an energetic aspect or transit. It's an energetic connection. And remember, a trine is a harmonious conversation. So the moon in Sagittarius brings feelings to the point, and remember, the moon represents feelings and subconscious and intuition and things like that. And Sagittarius, the 9th house, has to do with expansion. Again, they're ruled by Jupiter, which is an expansive energy. But it also has to do with higher education, with learning, with travel, and things like that. So with Venus in Aries, Mercury in Aries, making this lovely trine or this harmonious conversation with the moon in Sagittarius, you might take a trip. You might have a connection with someone who lives far away, and the fire in and Mercury in Aries, so fire of Aries feeding Mercury and Venus, relating, and energy of communication and travel and thinking, kind of matched up in this harmonious conversation with the moon in Sagittarius. You might suddenly have a desire to drop everything and catch a flight to see your family or see a friend or see a lover that's far, far away. And again, with that Aries energy being, you know, first house, but also ruled by Mars, the sex drive, it could be quite passionate as well. So moving on to the 8th, Jupiter will be going retrograde in the sign of Scorpio. So with Jupiter having been in Scorpio, he's been illuminating deep-seated things, hidden things, things to do with power and sex. We've seen that on the world stage. So those things have been illuminated and brought to life. Now with the retrograde occurring, it's moving into reflection on those things, thinking about those things. Okay, like, okay, well, we've learned that sexism is a problem in the workplace, and that there's an inequity of power, and that power is used in a destructive way as it relates to women, okay, or people that are transgender, or the LGBT community as a whole. So it's looking at that dynamic now and reflecting, how did we come here and how do we improve that? Now that's the macrocosm. You could find it appear similarly in your own life in the microcosm. So watch for that reflection of learning about things that have motivated issues in your life, usually things that have been a problem, things that are held in shadow. Now they've been illuminated. Now we're considering what that means. Okay. March the 10th, the moon moves into Capricorn. Well, the moon will have moved into Capricorn and then makes a square with your sign in Aries. So Venus in Aries, as I said, is an assertive version of Venus, a self-considering in aspect of Venus, and a energetic, passionate aspect of Venus. Sometimes passive-aggressive. The reason I'm bringing that up is with the moon, the feelings in Capricorn, which is kind of a staid, restrictive energy. Capricorn, 10th house, ruled by Saturn. When it's squared, and a square is a 90-degree aspect, which is difficult. It's not an easy conversation. It's a rough conversation. The energy of the moon feelings in Capricorn squaring off to Venus in Pisces, Venus in Aries, is going to feel like, in her own expression, she is going to be passive aggressive. She's going to be staged. She's going to put on a poker face and not express herself. And by that same point, she's going to feel frustrated. So right around the 10th, there might be a little bit of frustration as it relates to expression of the feelings. But that will, the moon moves quickly through, transits quickly through or progresses quickly through the signs. So it won't be there for long. Just ride that energy out. And my gosh, we're at 13 minutes already, so let's get into your actual tarot reading. Sorry about that, Libra. Going to be doing a 4-card pull based upon some situation in your life. So something that you're dealing with, you're thinking about, you're focusing on, you're wanting to have happen. That's the first card. Second card is anything positive around that. Third card is anything negative around that. And then the final card is any overall advice. And I'm using the Universal Rider-Waite-Smith. Get started here for Libra, ruled by Venus, cardinal sign, ruler of the 7th house, how we relate to the other person as we're growing and developing as people, the 7th house, and Libra has everything to do with how we relate to others. Libra is the scales, so very much about balance. Sometimes it's difficult because you're balancing the concepts in your head so much, it's difficult to actually make up your mind about something. But that's okay. This is what makes you the best diplomat and very often the best leader. So you can see why the scales would be associated with law, justice, fairness. All right. This is for March 1st to the 15th, 2018 for our Libra friends. Air and ruled by Venus. Always considering the other. Oh, Yakate. What is going on with our Libra friends? From March 1st through the 15th, 2008. Thank you. First card out, Judgment. So there's some situation in your life. It's a process of completion that you're either avoiding taking or you're stuck right now. So this is major arcana. So this is something that needs to happen for your soul's growth. This is something that won't go away. So if you are ignoring some situation in your life or some process in your life or completing a cycle in your life, if you're ignoring that, you might as well not, because if it's major arcana, it's part of your life's lesson. It will manifest itself again and again and again. It never goes away. Positive aspect is transformation, the Death card in the upright. Negative aspect is a definite need to move on from old ways of thinking. So it looks like you are, and it's not surprising. Again, Libra considers everything before they jump. They consider other people before they speak. Not always before they speak, but they always consider the other party. So they're always analyzing a situation as it relates to balance. The this and the that, the you and the me, or the you and the me. Okay, so whatever this cycle is that you're needing to complete, that's going to be very positive and transform yourself, is going to require you moving on from old patterns that you've had, maybe limiting patterns. These are swords. There's 6 of them. And when you move on, you see they're all in the boat. This woman has made a decision to move from rough waters to calm waters. She's even getting assistance. So if you need to get assistance in your process of completing this cycle, do it. Okay? So she's getting some assistance and she's moving on to calmer waters. She has taken what she's learned, swords, air, thinking. These are the things that she has learned, and she's now using that information to make a decision, to move on, okay? Which is obviously imperative. Final, or not final outcome, but more swords energy. Overall message is Page of Swords. Pages can be a young energy, so we could be talking about a child or a youthful person in your life, but we could also be talking about messages. Pages tend to be messengers. This is in the upright. So it seems like for the transformation to happen, this thing that you're sitting in and not doing anything about, and you're being advised to move, well, the negative aspect is you need to move on. It's important that you move on. And when I say move on, I'm saying that not specifically about the situation, but what I'm saying is to make the decision. And again, I know that's difficult because you are weighing all your options. But the overall advice here is to communicate that decision. So it sounds like whatever this is requires you to communicate to someone so that you can move beyond this cycle, this life cycle, right? Because here's 2 major arcana. The thing you're not moving beyond, and the transformation that awaits you if you do move beyond it. Okay? So you can see how important it is that this be turned around and this goes upright. The Death card is the transformation you're seeking. It's the transformation you need. It's the best for you. And I think the big thing here is get beyond old thinking patterns about what you feel you deserve or even what's possible. Maybe you're limiting what's possible with your own mind. And that's keeping you kind of stuck in this old cycle. But your soul's contract is saying to complete this cycle, which you need to do, or you're going to come back. You're going to repeat this grade. To complete this cycle, you need to employ the transformation that's awaiting for you by taking what you've learned, moving on, and then communicating that decision, whatever that means to you. Okay, it could be, like I said, this could be a child, an air sign child, but this seems to be a little bit, the feeling I'm getting from this more is that it has to do with a communication that you need to, once you've made this decision, which should be very, very soon, otherwise fate will make it for you. So when you're being prompted and urged to make a decision, to do something, and to communicate that something, and to move on so that you can transform and you can complete this cycle. If you don't take care of it when you have the opportunity to act on it with your free will, then based on your soul's contract, fate will come back in and represent it in a different way. And sometimes it's a little bit more difficult because it's urging you to move. So have a little trust and faith in yourself, okay? And make that choice and use what you've learned. You're an air sign. You're intelligent. Very intelligent, right? Because you consider everything. But you've got to take what you've learned and you actually have to make that move. And when you do, it will be to something greater. All right, sorry, yours is 20 minutes, Libra. I hope this helped. If you have questions on the reading, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below, or if you have a comment, just leave that in the comment section below. If you'd like a personal reading, please email me at mememes@hotmail.com. You'll find that email address in the description box below the video, along with the pricing. Very reasonable pricing. If you haven't subscribed, I would love it if you did. That way we can keep an open dialogue going. You can check your sign on a regular basis and have a nosy at your family and friends. And I think that's all I have to share. So otherwise, I'll see you at the lunations, or I'll see you for next month's reading, or next half of this month's readings. And you take good care, Libra.